So welcome to this week's Inner Circle call. Today's call is a data mapping navigator. Now, what we're looking to do in today's session is focus on a problem that I've seen time and time again. And the problem that I see time and time again happening is this. It's almost a symptom of the success you guys have had in terms of building up databases from scratch. And what I'm saying is the growth in your databases is happening very, very quickly. And so some of you are going from zero database size up to 100, up to 1,000, up to 2,000, up to 5,000. You're putting into a campaign and you're getting clients and candidates. Awesome. But what I want to make sure we've got is we've got structure. We've got structure. So before we get into the crux of what we're going to be focusing on today, just to give you the remit for today's session, I want you to understand this. I want you to know what's your financial outcome, Andy. You want to do $500,000 or $250,000 or $1 million, whatever it is, and then we reverse engineer the steps. Cool. As you know, I've now changed my mind. I want you to dominate your marketplace. There's no reason why, if there's 10,000 candidates, you don't dominate that entire marketplace, because it's a system that does it. There's no reason why you don't dominate that marketplace. You let the system and the automation and the processes do the hard work. So some of you have grabbed this by the proverbial bits and you've gone really, really quick, which I love. But what I've seen also is that we're not actually thinking sometimes as structured as we can be. So today's session is about the following. I want you to understand and get a real picture of this. Right, my marketplace consists of 10,000 candidates or 2,000 clients. Right, how do I segment that marketplace down? Then, after I segmented that marketplace, how do I set them up into a process whereby I can say those candidates fit that client? I can then take that data set and put it into one of our machines. So Matt's just put in RR. So put it into maybe the RR machine. We might put it into a nurturing machine. We might put it into the Maven machine. But I want us to start thinking about, right, we're building up these databases and we're doing it pretty darn quick now. And I want you to really get focused on structure. And I want you to get focused on mapping. I want this session to be like almost like Cupid. Client A, he needs candidate A. Client B, he needs candidate B. If we're going to build these databases up, by the way, we don't do it, our VAs do it, or our systems do it, the automation does it, but they then know, right, that candidate fits that client. And then we start to have these systems run in the background without us doing any of it. We want to be the Dr. Evil, delegating it, etc. But we want to be really clear about what's the strategy we're actually developing here to build up our databases. So today's session is about not only building up the database, we've gone through that many times before, but it's actually mapping that client fits that candidate. And getting really clear on, right, who is my client? How many clients have I got? How many candidates have I got? But then when we start to think about this in a systematic approach, we can then map them. So client A fits candidate A. And then your VA can then put those into whatever the system is going to be, and then we're good. So that's what today's session about is, just to give you the context of it. Now Matt's won the fast mover. So Rika, it's your first time on the call. Now at this point, I want to know what your win has been for the last 7 to 14 days. So the last 7 to 14 days, the reason why I do this, Rika, is the following. If you've run through a process and you've, for example, put 100 leads in front of it, you got 10, whatever your conversion thing is at the back of it. It could be a face-to-face, it could be an inbound appointment, it could be wherever it is. At the back of it, 100 in, 10 out the back, and you then got 100 grand's worth of business. If you scaled it 10 times, if it's linear, that then become 1 million, etc., etc. So we want to know what can be scaled. So all of you guys, you all know this, capital W, what's been your win the last 7 to 14 days? So how can we scale at what you've done? So Matt was the first one to type in the chat box. Matt typed in, and let me just bring up Matt. Matt said, my consultant has just secured a role today from RR sequence. There's copy and paste templates, Rika. 55K, 1,200 fee. Client has a lot of business too. This could be a repeat business and a PSL client. Good stuff. So that's Matt's win. Now, all of you, what's been your win the last 7 to 14 days? Probably 14 days. Or it could be, do you know, Andy, I've had a really tough week. I've run this process, it's not converted, or I've run a webinar, it's not converted, or I've done this and this didn't happen. Okay, what can we fix? What do we need to fix right now? What do we need to look at? Do we need to look at your campaign? Do you need to look at your communication? Do you need to look at your website? What do we need to fix? So capital W, what's been your win? What can we scale? So Matt, straight away, what don't we do after this call, Matt? I want you to send me an email with, right, you've got a 55K role there from this sequence. I want to know the metrics. How many were sent? How many were opened? How many were replied to? Send me the full end-to-end metrics. From there, we can say about scaling. Send me that after this call, Matt, to Inner Circle at, okay? David Mayers, by the way, David, your message to me that I got when I was in the Philippines put a massive smile on my face. Well done, David. In a nice phrase, David said, I am weeing myself. Win. Filled around 3 weeks using RRR. That's been vacant for 6 months. Going to use it as a case study. Okay, John, cool. Cool. Remember, case studies, guys, we don't reference the tools. We don't reference the actual how-to steps. Reference what we did, okay? So you say an automated sequence, etc. Well done. Rika, my website needs massive improvement, but I'm still going to get lead a week. Yeah, we're going to get you on point, Rika, on the call. Don't worry about that. But you've already picked up a role by the looks of it. Good stuff. Keith's agreeing, a new account manager. That'll take us to 3 working from home or commission only. Good man, Keith. So you're giving the leads, Keith. Is that what's happening? And then moving up. Simon's picked up 7 roles. When I thought it was all lost, I used RRR templates to contact candidates with a 40% open rate on one particular role. Yes, good man. 40%, well done. Wins. Brown, actually talk about you in a minute. I've tested and now onboarding my first VA this week. Her name is Mimi and she's awesome. I tested 3 different companies against the same job criteria and she was able to achieve 450 new, actually I have 25 new client connects. I've got 2 search leads from referral. Yeah, Brian, I'm actually going to reference you in a second. You are my win for the week, actually. Still working extremely well, Keith, and getting brand new clients respond every single day. Every single day. Keith, I'm just going to take a little snap of that. I'm getting brand new clients responding every day. Some excellent new clients on board. Watch your space with them. Good man. David, continue to get good traction, leads, referrals off LinkedIn, connection, build campaign, build profile. Good. David, next phase now, we're going to get into the automated side as well, also as well as LinkedIn. I'll be interested in hearing more from Keith as I'm looking to do something similar. Keith, how do you feel about this? You and I have spoken offline about data and some of the bits and pieces. Keith, how would you feel about coming onto a hot seat we've got a couple lined up, but maybe, let me see, 24th, let's look at the wall. How would you feel about doing a hot seat in about 3 weeks, Keith? No prep needed, I'll guide you through it, but what you're doing is really, really cool. And what I'm loving what you're doing, Keith, is you're building a virtual team, commission only, and you're growing just using real simple strategies. Keith, would you be up for that? If you don't, I think there'll be a few people hunting you down. So Keith, I'd love you to come on the call. Dave was off to Wembley at the weekend. June the 7th. It could be. I'll tell you what I'll do, Keith. I'll just double confirm our side. But let me just double check. It'd be either June the 7th, Keith, or it'd be the week after, but probably on the Thursday the week after. Is that cool? Let me know. But we definitely want to get you onto a hot seat, Keith, because you're doing some really cool stuff I think the group are going to benefit from. Cool. June the 7th will be either June the 7th or it will be, let me see, I think it's the 16th. We're moving that week due to travel arrangements. So yeah, Keith. So Keith's on board. So my win for the week has been this. It's Brant. Now lots of you know Brant because Brant very kindly shared with us his approach to referrals, etc., etc. So for those of you who don't remember, Brant is the chap who has a radio voice. He joined us around Christmas time. Brant came to us and said, Andy, I've heard about this automation stuff you're doing. I got your message and I want to do it. And then what we did was we looked at his business and said, Brant, I think we could possibly double your business just by focusing on creating a systemized referral strategy to start with. So we created essentially not a new strategy. We updated an existing strategy that we use in our own business and we've used before. And then Brant took it, ran with it, and he sent me this email. So as you see here, he's in 5 months doubled the business, which is great, or more than doubled it. But the thing that I love about Brant is actually just the first point, which is probably not the bigger win to Brant. But Brant had some hesitation around building a virtual team. And then I've tested and now I'm boarding my first VA this week, looking to achieve 450 to 500 new connections. each and every week. Now, for me, the reason why it's a win for brand is not only is doubled as business, doubling is what we really want you to all be looking at doing in your first year. Then second year, we start to scale again. So I'm really, really proud of brands, moving quickly, but it's the fact that brands had a mindset shift. And so the win for me is not just the financial side with brand, it's the actual mindset shift. Brand was hesitant around a VA. I've heard, my friend's got a VA, I've heard about a VA, and he's done it, and he's now moving forward with it. And so for me, it's, remember we talked about the call a few weeks ago, about the strategies work. They work. You just need to implement and don't overthink it. And that's the key thing. Implement, get results. If it's not converting, right, we need to tweak it. So if you look down at what Brant said there about the Maven webinar, he's done his first Maven webinar, he's picked up what could be 200 to 300K worth of new business, which is great from the first Maven webinar. But he's also said, right, next steps, I need to improve these, I need to tweak these, it's a learning experience. So for me, the win of the week is Brant, because he's taken on board a completely different approach to business now, and he's now actually got across the line. And Brant, I'm sure you'll remember this. When we first spoke, said, right, we need to almost deal with you with in kid cotton gloves in a way, because I need to get you across the line. I need to get your mind across the line in terms of the VA sort of thing. Because there's a bit of a mental block, because lots of people think these things aren't possible. Yeah, VAs, I've heard about this. We've got processes and systems, and all Brant's done is implemented it. So for me, Brant, kudos. Number one, you got the VA side moving. Number two, you've done your first Maven webinar, and you've done okay from it. You know, you might have picked a $250,000 there, which is great. But also, you've identified, I need to improve. I need to improve. How can I improve? So my win of the week goes to Brant. So Brant, tip of the cap to you. So good stuff, Brant. So for those of you who've not seen it, for the newer members, if you've not seen the hot seat of Brant, highly recommend it. Click on new, scroll down till you see the hot seat about referral strategy, and you can have an hour and a half of Brant's sexy radio voice all to yourself. So Brant, thank you. And yeah, that's my win of the week out of what you guys are all doing. And lots of you are doing awesome things. So David Myers, the message sent to me, David, also similar mindset about change of approach, completely different way of doing business, and now you're moving forward with it. Great stuff. So that's my win. Brant, well done. So let's get on to today's session. So Keith is in. So Keith's in for the hot seat on the 7th or 16th, which is outstanding. So Keith, I'll be in contact before that, and we'll get you onto that call. And yeah, we're going to have a hot seat with Keith, which you're going to love. Keith is on the hot seat, by the way, for a couple of reasons. One, because John's just said, we need to hear from Keith. But a couple of people said that a few weeks ago when we were talking about data, Keith also, which we mentioned at the time. But Keith essentially is implementing, but he's got a virtual team. I didn't realize it's commission only, but I think there's a lot of lessons that the team, that the rest of us in the group will benefit from you sharing, just from implementing what you inside the inner circle and then scaling bit by bit. So Keith, well done. Brant's all over the wall. I'm not sure what that means in America. In the UK, that means well, many things, but let me know what that means, Brant. So let's do this. Let's get into today's session. Let's get into today's session. So, why is your database a problem for you? So type in the chat box now. Why is your database a problem for you? So you got your database, and I don't just mean your ATS, I mean your database to get clients, your database to get candidates. So if you've got a database of clients and candidates, you know, put them into RRR, which about 4, 5, 6 of you just said there, you're going to get some form of result. Put them into a nurturing campaign, you get another result. Put them into a Maven webinar, going to get another result. Put them into Content Cannon, etc. What's the main problem with your database now? The main problem you've got with your database right now, your database to get clients, your database to get candidates. So Mark, I mean not your ATS, I mean your data. So you got a database of client contacts, a database of candidate contacts. What is your problem with that right now? What is stopping you from growing? So you know, for example, if you've gone through the template builder or any of those sessions, if there's 10,000 candidates in your marketplace, I want you to have all 10,000 in your database or as close as possible. So what's the problem with your database right now? Cool. So Rachel, an Excel sheet can be a database. You're absolutely right. It can be, and that's what we mean. So we got not structured enough is key. It's too small, it's unsegmented. I don't trust it. I don't know if they're candidates, clients, or both, and they're not segmented across skills, seniority, availability. There's not enough in it. That can be easily fixed. Both too small. You need to grow these and really get the grips. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, Scott, I sent you a message. Drop language like get to grips with. Just do it. That's what I want you to do. I want you to just do it. Just follow the steps and just do it. Come with any questions, same questions. Just drop mindset stuff. Just get on with it. And the reason why Brant was on today's, well, for me the win, because Brant had getting the VA. But just honestly, Scott, just follow the process. You'll be golden. It's loose on impact. Type population to match my avatar. Good. Not structured. I think you mean many different types of, I'm guessing you mean Excel, or it's in an access database or whatever it might be. I guess that's what you mean there, Rachel. Okay, so let's do this. The problem I see time and time again with your databases, and when I first, this call today actually came around from Elizabeth. So let me see if Elizabeth's actually on the call. Unfortunately, she had a fall. She's not on the call. So today's actual call is going to be a hot seat. So fairly last minute, we've developed it into a training session. So which is cool. But we were going to do a hot seat today. So Elizabeth has got a database of 10,000 plus all over the place, clients, candidates, etc., etc. And then on the conversation with Elizabeth, just speaking with her, I started to identify, right, in your database, could you identify X amount of type A clients, so clients who need ABC? Yeah, I could. Right, could you identify candidates who are ABC? Yeah, I could. Okay, if we can get that mapping, we can create a campaign and we can put that data, so essentially the client contacts and the candidate contacts, into two separate campaigns, and we can marry them up. So it's a process that's automated in the background. A VA does it. They put it into whichever automated system we use. In this case, it would have been to get immediate results. It would have been RRR. But speaking with Elizabeth, I was like, right, what we could do here, that 10,000, I'm pretty certain we could turn that into a fairly substantial amount of fees to you pretty quickly. We just need to, number one, get the database segmented, and then we need to marry up who the client needs and who the candidate wants. So there are two steps that we need to go through. So I had the conversation with Elizabeth, and she's got a database of say about 10,000. So what I was going to do on today's call was do it live on the call and work live through her database. And we're going to have a hands-on session of making this, mapping it out and fixing it. So these candidates want these clients need these candidates, then we put them into a campaign. So the problem that Elizabeth had was she's got this big database, but it's a little bit all over. But within it, it's probably 6 figures, potentially multiple, and I probably think it is many multiple 6 figures that she could leverage straight away just by putting them through an automated process. And so today's session was about, right, how do we do that? But as I say, unfortunately, Elizabeth's had a fall. So thoughts with Elizabeth. So what I want to do is essentially go through what I was going to go through with Elizabeth, but lay it out in a set of steps. And all I want to do with you is, number one, get you to understand that if you get this right, this is going to be a huge part of your machine moving forward, a huge part of your machine. If you get it wrong, yeah, you're still going to get good results. But if you want to be sat on a beach in 2 years' time and you want other people in the business running the business, you need to have this structured. You need to have a real clarity on, right, who is my client A, client B? What defines client A, client B? How does my VA know to identify client A, client B? How does he know who the actual ideal candidate is? And so what this is going to be is not a technical session on, right, what ATS do I use or what system do I use? What I want you to get is an understanding of, right, higher, almost a helicopter view of your business. So if I bring up my iPad, let me just show you what I want to go through today. Elizabeth, when you play us back, there's lots of love for you in the chat box, which is nice, guys. Let me just see then. So we know, and we have changed our approach now. What I want you all to do is be thinking, right, I don't want to be just maybe not getting by, but if there's 10,000 clients in your marketplace, right, let's get as many as 10,000 of those 10,000 in your database. Let's dominate the marketplace. Let's absolutely crush the marketplace. So you know that if we picture so they say these are your clients, these are your candidates. Got a nice new pen today, which is awesome. So it's 10,000 clients, or it might be just 1,000, or it could be 100,000, whatever the figures are going to be. And we know that what we got is this. There could be a total of that in the marketplace, and you might just have, say, 1,000 of the clients in your database. Or you might have 500, you might have none. And same with candidates. There might be a total of 100,000 candidates in your marketplace. You could be in a bigger business, but you've only got, say, 10,000 of them. So we've got this big gap that we want to fill. And we cover that gap on other sessions, how to build up the database, how to build it up from scratch. And we want to be building up. We want you to dominate that marketplace. But what I want you to get a grip on today is not how to build up your database. We cover that in other sessions. And if you're still stuck, reach out to me, ask me any questions. What I want you to think about is this. I want you to think about, right, if I've got this process in place where I'm adding, I don't know, 5,000 a month or whatever the figures are going to be, and this is my candidate database. So give you a nice simple, because you all understand Excel. So you've got candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, candidate B, E, F, G, etc., etc., etc. So all these different types of candidates. And then we got a type of client. Let's keep it nice and simple again. So these are our clients. And again, we might have client A, client B, client C, client D. Some of your clients might be HR people. They might all be project managers, line managers, and decision makers if you're lucky. But what we want to be thinking about is this. If we have a process whereby we can marry up it could be A to A, or it could be client B actually needs candidates D and he needs candidates G. We start to get this mapping going on, and then we can set up a process whereby we export our lists, put them into, say, well, in this case, RRR, and then we get replies. That's a process you're actually not part of. Your VA manages all that. 1, 2, 3. Export them, goes in RRR, the replies come in, and at that point, you might speak to the client or you might speak to the candidate. That's a process that's completely outsourced. Then, of course, what we want to be doing is building up the database, which is a different session altogether. So you want to be building out a database. So it goes from 1,000 to 2,000 to 10,000. But what I want you to start thinking about is this. If you are going to be building your database, and all of you should now be thinking, right, I don't just want to be doing 100 grand or 200 grand. I want to be thinking big. We all know if we think big, generally, if you're going to aim for 7 figures, you might not hit 7 figures, but you're going to be a damn lot closer than if you aim for 100 grand. And there's no reason today with the tools and strategies and what we do that you shouldn't be aiming for big figures as opposed to smaller figures. There's no reason at all you shouldn't be doing that. As you move through, there'll be different leaks happening. I've got more meetings, or I've got more admin, or I've got more invoices, whatever it might be. You plug those holes as you go, of course. But what I want you to focus on is this. You can build up your databases. The process to build up a database of 10% is the same process you're going to use to build up to 100%. You're just going to scale it. So as we build our databases up, I want us to get this real understanding, right? I'm not just building up a database and just for the sake of it, just building up clients, building up candidates because that's what Andy's told me to do. I want you to be thinking about, right, what am I actually trying to build here? Who is my client avatar? Who is my candidate avatar? Now, most of you should have been through this process, but you might not have been through it all yet, and that's completely cool. But I want you to get this image in place. If you've got candidate A, and let's say that the perfect match is client A. So client A could be a automotive project manager working on the East Coast of America, and candidate A could be a CAD designer based in New York. Could be the perfect match. So then if we get this mapping happening, we can then use either RR, put them into a campaign. We could have a Maven strategy. So the same topics, same speakers, be of use to both of them. We can nurture them with relevant content. Essentially, what we want is a machine happening. But for the machine happening, even if you enter a business now, and this is what most of you do in your first 90 days, say to you, right, get RR moving, get content cannon up and running, get your LinkedIn campaigns working. You will get clients and candidates if you follow the steps and if you just go for it and just get your head down, don't overthink it. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. You want to be thinking like a machine. But for a machine to work properly, obviously each part of the machine needs to be set up correctly. Now, if you're dealing with 1,000 clients, 1,000 candidates, we're dealing with low numbers. But if you're starting to think about scaling, and that's what some of you are doing now, some of you are, you're into the 7 figures now. Some of you are going from 1 person to 5 people. Some of you are going from in your bedroom almost to now getting contracts with big companies. Things are changing. As I said to you before, my model's now changing with you guys, what I want, who I want inside the inner circle. So it's important now, as you move into the scale part, that the foundations that we create are obviously going to dictate a lot of what happens in the future. So there's 2 things you want to be doing here. One is we want to be looking at our existing database. Right, I need to do some proper analysis on this. Who are my clients? Who are my candidates? How can I get a VA to actually segment it for me? And number 2, moving forward, how do I actually flag that this new lead coming in, is he a type A, a type B, a type C? So we've got 2 things we want to be achieving today. One is, right, our existing database. I need to spend a bit of time and do some proper analysis on what I've got here. What is my marketplace? What marketplace am I trying to dominate? Are there really 10,000 types of candidate, or are there just really 3 types of candidate? So you all should know, by doing the analysis that we do in the template builder section and some of the other sessions we do, you should all know that you have a rough idea how many clients are in your marketplace. You should all have a rough idea how many candidates in your marketplace. But now I want to drill down into, right, let's segment. So it's 10,000 candidates in your marketplace, right? Let's segment that down into 5, 10, 20 types of candidate. Can we match them and marry them up to a type of client? Maybe, maybe not. But we need to start to get the segmentation in place, and we need to raise the relevant flags. So that's what I'm looking to do today. And that's what we are going to do today. Now, the reason why this session's come about, as I said, is because it's something that I've seen happen now a few times. A few times in the last couple of weeks. And Elizabeth was the driver to, you know what, let's bring this forward. So in terms of your understanding about what we're trying to achieve today, does it make sense, or do you have any questions about what I'm trying to achieve with you today? Just type in the chat box now. Andy, you're talking gobbledygook. Or, yeah, I get it. I get what we're trying to achieve today. Let me know. Just type in the chat box before we get into this. For those of you who've not said you get it or don't get it, please type in the chat box. Get off Facebook. Get off whatever you're doing. Say, hell yeah, I get this, Andy, or hell no, you're talking rubbish. Let me know. Okay, good. Good. Rick, yes, that's correct. So the problem I've seen is this. Most databases look at, a database, by the way, can be in a system, as in some software. It can be in an Access database. It can even be an Excel sheet. Some of you even got in notepads. But what we see is this. It's a mess. Your database is a mess. It's it exists. It's not structured. It's not usable. It's a mess. The second problem I see is this. Most LinkedIn networks and most databases that I've seen from recruiters have evolved over time. And part of that is because you've been fed the bullshit that goes out there, which is, you know, the bigger your reach, the more that, the bigger the reach, the more you're going to make. It's absolutely the polar opposite. The more niched you are, the more focused you are, within reason, the more easy it is to dominate that niche, and then you can expand. But lots of your databases have evolved. And the reason why is because we haven't got a clear vision about what we're trying to achieve. That's why we want you to have a year plan. Begin the year. Right, what's my year look like? What does my 90 days look like? So for those of you who've got who have velocity calls with me, for example, If you come to a velocity call, you haven't set your own 90-day plan in place, shame on you. It's all there for you to be using. What I never want to get from anyone is, right, what do I do next? Okay, cool, that's a great question. If the onus is on me, right, your next 4 steps are this, but you should go through the ignition year. All of you should go through the ignition year, and you should be setting up your next 90-day sprint. It will change your business. I've just flown down to the Philippines to set up my 90-day sprint. You should all be setting up your 90-day sprint. Screw the 3-year business plan. 90 days, you can achieve so much. But you need to have a vision about what the bigger picture looks like. In most databases, they just evolve over time. So what do you want your database to look like in the bigger picture? What marketplace are you going to dominate? What candidates do you need? What clients do you need? So rather than let it run you, you run the database. Now, as Rachel said, your database could be in many, many forms. It could be in an Excel sheet. It could be in, I imagine, in an ATS. You've got bits on LinkedIn. You've got bits all over the place. So you've got these hybrid of information everywhere. That's not of use to you. Remember, the process is really simple. Traffic, conversion process, get paid. That's what we're looking to do. You need to get enough leads in the front end, put it through a conversion process, and then get results at the back of it. So you might have your data all over the place. Your client data, your candidate data might be all over the place. Let's get that fixed. Next problem I see. There's none to the most limited segmentation. So Andy, I've got my database set up yet. I've got candidates, I've got clients. Cool. Now, most of you, or lots of you, are going to have a third flavor, which we call senior candidate. Now, some of you, we've all got different names for it. I've always called it a senior candidate. So a senior candidate is someone who could be both a client and a candidate. And so you might have 3 different sections. Some of you might have broken down to industry. You might broken down to role. You might have broken down to the color of their hair. Great. But we generally see not great segmentation happening. Now, remember what we're trying to do here. If, for example, you run a process, so Maven process. So Brant's run the Maven process for the first time. I think you had, Brant, you can correct me on this. You have 51 people either registered or on the webinar. I can't remember which it was. And you've, by looks of it, got 200 to 300 grand of business out of it. Great. So you've gone through that process. Now, if we could look at who actually attended that webinar and we segmented that webinar, we might be able to identify, right, we did a webinar for this type of individual. Your next webinar might be a different type of individual. Or you might have done a Maven webinar just that hits everyone in the marketplace. What we're going to be thinking about is this. How can we segment our database down so we can put it into a Maven campaign, put it into a RR campaign? But we don't need to be crazy with this. We just need to have it segmented enough that, right, if I put 100 leads into this and I get 100 grand out the back of it, cool. Brant's put 51 leads into that and got 200, 300 grand out the back of it. Excuse me. Great. So if you put in 100, if it's linear, that's 400, 600 coming out the back of it. Good. But what we're looking to do here is we just base it on metrics. The whole thing's based on metrics. It isn't woo-woo, it isn't magic. It's a process that converts. And the more we can segment our database, the more clearly we can then put it into a process that's relevant to them. So some of you have done, for example, Maven webinar, and you've got the topic completely off point. So we've not segmented at all. We've gone, right, our database is anyone who works in IT. Whereas someone else might say, right, my prospect is an IT director based in the automotive industry, based in the north of America, and he has 3 legs. So, but it's that segmentation we've been moving towards, but not going over the top. We want to get a middle ground, which we can come to in a bit. The next problem we see, and I'm yet to see anyone do this, there's actually mapping going on. So, for example, we know this client maps to these 37 candidates. It's their ideal candidate. It's there for them. A click of a button, it can go, or reverse engineer the steps other way around. This candidate is detailed that he wants to work for Ford, Chrysler, etc. Other way around. There's no mapping happening. There's no mapping, easy for me to say, no mapping happening. So you want that mapping to happen. And if you can if you can have your VA manage this, awesome. And what we're dealing with here, guys, is just data. It's data. So if the little voice in your head is saying, yeah, but Andy, only I know my marketplace, only I know my candidate, only I know my clients, don't want to rain your parade, but no, none of us are that important to the business. Your business should be set up so it can run without you for most of it. Not all of it, but most of it, depending on where you are. So the mapping is going to help your VA understand what goes into what campaign. But I generally see no databases with any form of map. Right, these are my clients, these are my candidates. Okay, who needs who? Who fits who? So we want to start to get that mapping in place. And that's going to help us drive our campaigns for everything we do. Whether you want to get immediate sales, immediate candidates, or whether you want to do a nurturing campaign. That mapping is going to make your life easier. And say, this only came about after picking away with a few of you and understanding what your databases are like and how they're growing. And the call of Elizabeth is like, yeah, I think we need to do this sooner rather than later. So out of those 5 elements there, can you relate to any of those guys in terms of your business right now? Things that maybe you see in your business, whether it be it's a mess, whether it be you've not actually had a strategy in place, it has just evolved over time. Maybe it is in different formats all over the place. Maybe you haven't got any segmentation, or maybe you've done the polar opposite and you've segmented down to the nth degree, which again, unless you're a big corporate, but say some of our clients are big corporates, and even then, unless you've got the support system behind you, shouldn't really be doing that either. It's the middle ground you need, which we want to focus on. So guys, which of those can you relate to? Which of those are your, it's your world? What's the one that stands out most? Which one should we focus on most? All of them? None of them? Lots of sounding good, hell yeah, and all this good stuff. Makes sense. Segment, map content to recipient. Yeah. Map candidate to client. Yes. Makes sense to a great degree. How about the senior candidate? Can that also be a client? Yes. So senior candidate, in this case, is a client and a candidate. So a prime example might be a a candidate who may be a team leader and he's about to become a project manager. So he's gone from being your candidate to he's actually going to be in charge of budget, etc., etc., etc. You've all got your own examples. That's David's office. Cool. Map is something I need to spend time on because we're just collecting the results towards the end of the month for the last 6 weeks. Both candidates and clients. Cool stuff, Keith. Look forward to those results. It's not a mess. It's not organized. But it's not organized. It needs to be segmented, then aligned to a client, then comms and blah blah blah. Cool. Yeah. So this is step 1. Rachel, all of the above. Cool. Let's do this then. So the principles I want us to follow are this. So grab pen and paper. The principles I want us to follow is this. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to go analog. Now, what does that mean? It's a phrase I actually got from a guy called James Schramko. I don't know about you guys, but something happens, and there is many case studies on this, and I say it quite often. Print off what you're going to do sometimes. Go and grab a coffee or go and grab a beer, whatever your thing is. Go and people watch. Take 2 hours out. Dion, I don't think Dion's on today's call, but Dion is a lady we had on a hot seat a couple of months ago. She sent me an email and said, Andy, do you know, I've had a really bad week. I've just had a bad week. I've been off the boil. You know, I've not been on it. It's like, Dion, whoa. Why have you set up your own business? So you define what you work, when you work. Don't be hard on yourself. You just take a step back. You know, you've had a week where you've done whatever you've been doing, and don't be hard on yourself. Take a step back. Let's get a reset. Let's just reset. Grab a pen and paper. Don't grab your laptop. Don't grab your notepad, your iPad. Grab a pen and paper. Go to Starbucks. Go and sit there and people watch. The most creative, magical things that ever happen for me personally, but if you read books like Think and Grow Rich, is common. The magic happens when you're not sat in front of a screen. The magic happens with pen and paper. It's where something happens, and you can study the neurology reports and all this, and something happens when you connect with a pen or whatever it might be. But it's true. So I don't want you to sit here now and grab a Excel sheet and go, right, my clients, my candidates. I want you to grab pen and paper. I want you to think big picture first of all. You should all know what your marketplace is, right? Or have a rough idea. If you haven't, email me. So my clients are ABC, my candidates are ABC. Right, a quick search on LinkedIn, whatever system you're going to use. Right, there's 8,000 candidates, there's 10,000 clients or 4,000 clients, whatever it's going to be. Cool, those are my big figures. Right, how does that 8,000 break down into? Now, if you sit there and you start going through every single LinkedIn profile, you're going to come up with a billion different types of candidate title, etc. You don't need that. You all know your industry. Even if you're in a brand new industry, you know enough to be able to spec out, right, my industry breaks down to 5 types of client or 10 types of client or 20 types of candidate. This is them. So I want you to go analog. I don't want you to do this with Excel, because then you're going to get into surfing mode, you're going to get into Google mode, and you will be missing the entire point. We're creating a strategy here, guys. We're not getting down into the itsy bitsy going in and doing it. Your VA is going to do that. What we're doing is thinking strategy. Right, my marketplace, I want to be doing $1 million this year. Right, to do that, I need X amount. There's 10,000 candidates. I want all 10,000 in my marketplace. Good. It's 10,000. I want you to then go to Starbucks. I want you to print off the workbook or take a notepad and pen, and I want you to go analog. I want you just to let things go through your brain. Just spec it out. Right, just draw a almost like an org chart, if it could be. Just let it come out. Don't sit there with an Excel sheet. I promise you, if you sit with an Excel sheet, before you know it, you'll have 100 types of candidates in your Excel sheet, and you'll have 50 types of client, and you've completely just set yourself up to fail straight away. Go analog. Think end game. So your actions are, number 1, how many clients, candidates in my marketplace? You can do it really quickly. Do that on LinkedIn, search for it. You're going to get a figure. Then I want you to just break it down into, right, I've got these, and I'm going to give you the worksheets in a second to do this, but I want you to do this with a coffee, or say with a beer, with a whatever your thing is, but just go with downtime. That hour or two be worth much more than you sat in front of an Excel sheet. Now, when you've done that, I want you to get clear on the segmentation. So we know that our marketplace has got 10,000 candidates. Okay, how can I segment that down? Let's really think about this. And if you really start to think about this, if you think, well, of course, you've got 10,000 candidates, you could potentially have 10,000 different segments. Of course you could. Their name's John, they got red hair, support Liverpool, and they got 2 left feet. And they happen to be in Java development, based in London, and they work for Nomura, whatever it might be. But we get clarity on segmentation. So when we talk about segmentation, we need to pitch it at a level that we can then have a message that clients understand and candidates understand. You don't need to segment it down to the nth degree, but at the same time, just saying you've got clients and you've got candidates, that isn't enough. You might segment it in terms of technology. So for example, there could be 5 types of technology. Or for example, if you're working in software development, there could be 5 phases to the software development lifecycle. There could be system testing, there could be UAT, there could be whatever you're in. Break it down. Think about what your client needs. What does your client request? Well, they request Java developers with or they request change management with. How do they segment? Let your clients tell you how to segment the candidates. Don't sit here and create this pain for yourself. Your clients tell you what they need. You don't need to go into the nth degree. So this is why I want you to go analog. I want you to sit down, think about, right, let's think about this. And think about what the segmentation in your marketplace might look like. If you Google it, if you find out what are the different sub-industries within change management, you're going to get some fool who's written a blog, who's never done anything in recruitment, or never done anything actually relevant to your business, telling you that there's 25, 30 different whatever. That's not what I'm about. We're about your specific business. And guess what? The things you're doing, no one else in recruitment has probably done before to the extent you're doing. So you won't be able to find it online anyway. You are now going to be the thought leader in your marketplace. These things, no one else in your industry would have been doing. The strategies you're using, no one else would be doing. So you need to assume that position now. Right, I'm growing my business here. I'm going to segment it. And you do it by going analog. You do it by you thinking about your industry. And all that is thinking, right, I've got these clients. What do they tell me they need? If I think about these, typically, I don't care about all the different jobs on job boards. Let all the second-rate agencies go and post all their crappy jobs. Let them go on with it. What do you need? What jobs do your clients need? What do your candidates tell you they want? Screw the rest of the marketplace because it's crap, to be blunt. There's so much rubbish out there. And I don't want you to be setting up your database based on the different sections you get on the job boards. And no. You're here to do something really special. So you segment your marketplace. Now, the questions you got about this, type in the chat box and I'll answer every single one. So I want you to get clarity on how to segment your clients, how to segment your candidates. Now, when we've done this, we know we got candidate type A, candidate type B, candidate type C. I want you to set a flag. Set a flag in your database. Why? So if you've got a database, in a minute your database might be just 200, but in a year's time it could be 10,000, it could be 20,000. Now if we want to run a campaign, it's like, all right, we need more clients, or we need more candidates. Okay, let's run a campaign for type A. If you go to your database and you search on flag A, guess what? It will export 300 of type A. So whether you need to go back and you need to backtrack and look at your database and set type A, type B, type C, or you're starting off with nothing and this is what you do in the future, both are needed and both are cool. But again, remember what I said to you a few weeks ago or a few months ago now. I want all of you to now be thinking about dominating my marketplace, not just getting by my marketplace. So if you've got 10,000 in the marketplace, yeah, let's try and get to 10,000. And it could be you have great growth. So it could be you then you go from that niche and you set up a second niche and a third niche. Cool. Let's just make sure we get the processes right in the first one, okay? So we're going to set a flag so we know what type A is, type B is, etc. Now, off the bat, I want you to systemize. I want you to idiot-proof it. I want you to have it set up so when someone comes into your business, so when you've got your remote team, we might have a full-time person, whatever it might be, a local person, as your database builds, and you say to them on your weekly team meeting, your monthly team meeting, right then, so what's the metrics last month? Well, we had 100 inbound messages, we've got 50 appointments, and we've got 200K's worth of business. However you stage your own team meetings, etc., etc. I want you to be able to have a process in place, but you're not part of it. So the more you systemize this from the ground up, the easier it's going to be later on. So you need to make sure that your VA or your team member can understand, right, type A, that's a type A. Okay, I know, right, got it. I know how to search for a type A. Type A, oh, got it. Type A matches to client type C. That's okay, got it. So when you have your team meetings, rather than you get down and you're going through your database, you can say, right, we need more client leads. Okay, let's look at the database. How many type A's we got? We've got 472. When did we last run the RRR campaign? March last year. So we've not run one for 6 months. No, okay, let's run the RRR campaign. We're going to use this template, opens at 70%, replies at 24% or 40%, or whatever it's going to be. We're going to run type A to type A. Your job is to become that delegator, to become the puppet master. But the only way that's going to work is if you systemize it from the ground up. And you hear me harp on about this every single week. What do I say every week? Problem, solution, and we talk about systemization. So what I want us to do is just make us, or even move us from our world into our VA's world. Now, a VA isn't going to understand your business straight away. So you need to treat them like a 5-year-old. So you need to make it really, really clear, right? This is my candidate, this is my client, this is what they are. And that's if they stay with you for years, which I'm hoping if you go through Frustration and Freedom, you will build a remote team that will be with you for years. They won't be leaving you. You're going to have a team that'll be there forever and it'll cost you next to nothing. And you can go and have cool holidays with them, with your wife as well. But the thing that starts it all off is by you being clear. So I mentioned to, I think it was Dan and David, and you've got a VA on board, they've left me. Yeah, 99.99999% sure it's your fault. Why? It's because I made the same mistakes. I've made every mistake you can ever imagine. And that's why these strategies are developed, because the mistakes have made us take it right between the eyes, things we're doing wrong. And the key thing with systemizing this part of your business and your database and all of it is it needs to be idiot proof. You don't want to be proof checking and all these things. You want to be pulling away from the business one step at a time. And if you want more money, because some of you say, Andy, if you give me another 20 hours a week, well, I'm going to work 20 hours. Okay, cool. With those 20 hours, just make sure you enjoy 20 hours. You're not down doing the techie stuff. So systemize it from the start. and that means making it idiot-proof. Now, the final step, we need to be Cupid. We need to be Cupid, and that means we need to matchmake. So imagine in 6 months' time, and you've got your databases growing from 1,000 to 8,000, and you're talking to your team, saying, right guys, this is our next 90-day sprint, it's our next 30-day plan. Next 7 days, we need more client leads. What can we do? Tell me the metrics from, let's look at our database. Okay, look at the database. Right, we've got these 10 types, type A, B, C, D. Okay, when did we last run a double R campaign against type A? It was March 2016. Okay, great. So we've run for 6 months. Right, in that case, then we can run a double R campaign. Cool. Okay, type B. When did we last run a Maven campaign against them? We never have. We never run a Maven campaign against type B. No. Okay, so type B, that's a client. Type B, that's a candidate. Right, let's get a Maven on board who can then give us position to that group. Okay, so type C. Let's look at type C. What was the last campaign for them? Now, when you've got this structure in place, you can see pretty quickly. You can plan out pretty quickly. When you've got this helicopter view of your entire database and you can look down on it, so imagine you've got a spreadsheet, just giving you a visual, it might not be a spreadsheet, but a visual, and you look down on it and you can see, right, type A, type B, type C, type D, and you can see the date you last ran a campaign against it. We ran our last double R campaign on that date, our last Maven campaign on that date. We've nurtured them with podcasts on these dates. We've Content Canon, as they've been part of that process since this date. They've et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now you've got something really substantial to work with. Now you've got the foundation for a machine. But when we can matchmake, it becomes so powerful. So if you've got a Maven who's talking about how to grow your hair and have 2 left feet, and these candidates want that, and the clients want that as well, a real niche topic, you can run a campaign, you can find that specific Maven. If you've got a candidate who's dying to move to type of company A, or company A is looking for candidates of type B, you can run that campaign. You can run a candidate campaign. Are you open to moving? 50 come back, 100 come back. Do a client campaign. And all of this is a system. You're not part of this. There's no recruitment genius in any of this. This is a system. It's bringing the leads in. It's running in the background. What it takes you doing is becoming a I hate to use the word Dr. Evil because I say it all the time, but it's becoming to someone who's very, very organized. Very, very organized. But if you're anything like me, you want to take it to the next phase. Be like, so you might have your team meetings once a week or once a month, and then the next phase would be, right, I don't want to be actually part of this process. You might pull away again. But to get to that point, you must have the foundations in place. So look at what we've done here. We've gone through a set of steps. Number one, let's think big picture. What's my end game? What is my niche? What are the types of clients and candidates? Right, now let's segment them down. I know what the niche is. Let's segment them down to type A's, type B's. Let's flag them in our database. As we move forward, let's set the flag. Let's make it really clear. So we've got flag A. Okay, but what does flag A actually mean? Let's make it idiot-proof to a VA from the Philippines or from India, or you could be someone local, but chances are they're not going to know your business, and you don't want them to know your business. If you're dependent on people knowing recruitment inside out coming into your business, then you've got a point of failure. If they leave, you're in trouble. You want a business that's systemized. So for example, if someone leaves your business, you should have it documented and process driven so that someone can come in and they can pick it up straight away. And number 5, we want to make it really simple. So when we get to that point in 6 months, 12 months, right, we need more clients. Okay, let's look at the last time we ran that campaign to match these two up. And it's there, clear as day to be done. So you want to be Cupid. So spoken many times, quite a few times recently about matchmaking. Everything we do is about problem solution. Your client's got a problem, your candidate's got a problem. You are the solution. You are Cupid in this instance. So that's what we're looking to do. Now, what I'm going to do, is I'm conscious that for some of you, this is some of you have picked up on this straight away, but a few comments, which is really, really cool, by the way, and I won't name check you. but I can see that it might be a bit of a head frazzle in a way. So let me ask you two questions. Number one, having your database set up in this way, number one, what would be most valuable to you about having it set up this way? And then we'll focus on that next. So number one, what would be most valuable? So type in the chat box, one, if you have it set up in this way, how would you use your database if it was set up in that way? Then number two, what's the biggest challenge you think you've got from actually making this happen? But number one, what would be most valuable? Then number two, what would be the biggest challenge to getting this set up? And let's get these taken on point now. So Rika, what I want in these calls is everyone being completely transparent, saying, Andy, I've got no idea what you're on about. You're talking craziness. Or I want you to say, I get that. How do I do this? What I don't want to do after these calls is I have emails from people saying, what did you mean by this? The reason we have group calls and lots of you now in pods, everyone benefits. So any questions, type in the chat box of a queue. But number one, what would be most valuable? So, i.e., how can we scale that in your business? Number two, what would be the biggest challenge? When we put the call down today, you're going to go away and you go, oh, darn it, I don't know how to do that. Or now's the time to ask. I said, don't want to get emails from you on this question. Of course, one or two things pop up, but I don't want one-to-one questions when the whole group can benefit from a really good question. Without being a bit school teachery, but it's absolutely true. Any question always leads to another question for someone else, and before you know it, we've got more value than we could have hoped for. So do that now. Yeah, easy and fast money placements. I don't trust my database. Most valuable is the ability to market to them accurately in an automated way. Absolutely. Number two, setting the time to do this was managing the getting paid pressures. Absolutely. So who will be doing this? Not you. It should be a VA. So remember, you take the hit with the VA once, and then it's going to 10x your time. Really will. Separating them correctly is going to be the tough bit. I totally get this. And there was a business on the money, David, and there was a business to react quickly and effectively. Now that's key. How many times do we get in a queue when we get people applying for a call with us? And the amount of times we get a message online is what David has just said. In our marketplace, it's all about speed. Candidate comes in the marketplace or client role comes in the marketplace. It's all about speed. Imagine if you've got this in place where you've got a system whereby, right, role is type 2, bang, double R, what's that going to be? 5-10 minutes. If you got them into Excel sheets, into Google Sheets, you've got them cleaned, all that is and upload into the automated tool, quick hit send. That's a VA task. So that could be a weekly task. Every single week, your VA cleans the data. Every single week, your VA uploads clean data into QuickMail. So as a role comes in, they click send. So you should all have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly tasks in your business as per frustration and freedom. So for example, backing up your website should be a weekly task by your VA. Backing up your administration documentation, uploading to 2 or 3 different clouds should be a weekly VA task, etc., etc., etc. All these things, but this should be one of those tasks. Good point, David. Reacting quickly and effectively, on the money. Biggest challenge, segmentation organization is just a lump of graft. Yeah. This is where we want your VAs to be involved. Biggest challenge is deciding how to segment the database and what the actual tags are. Hey, Damien, how you doing? Mark, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by, I've got no idea what that means. If you could rephrase that, I'd be really appreciated. So Damien, in terms of, let me ask you a question. How do you think you could segment it then? By role, by industry, sub-industry, by, how do you think? Daunting task to change your entire database. We're not talking about changing your entire database here, Rick. What we're talking about here is segmenting your entire database. So that could be very simply adding one flag add in next to each person in your database, literally add in an A, a B, a C, a D, an E. That's all we're talking about. We're talking about changing the database. We're talking about segmenting it so it's usable. Not talking about changing it. We want simplicity for you. So just to recap on this, everyone, we're not talking about creating a database from scratch. We're talking about simplifying what you've got. And the outcome, remember, is we want to add the relevant flag. And the relevant flag should be a type of client, a type of candidate that we can use later on. Cool, Keith. What would be the best database to use for all these contacts we're generating? Really simple. You can put all your contacts into Active Campaign. You can have a list for each one. You could have a list for candidate A, candidate B, candidate C, candidate D, candidate E, etc. And then you can export your list into Excel and put them into QuickMail, whatever you need to do. Yeah, so Active Campaign is completely cool. It's the biggest roadblock I have. Yeah, so Rick, let's get this done then. Yeah, Damien, so by role, by location, by industry sector. So let's think about this. Remember what we said. Don't let our mind get into in the way here. Think about what your clients request with candidates. They need to have what? But then you go, well, but these candidates could be in location A, B, C, D, E. Cool. Now we're starting to build up a picture of it. So we know the avatar of a client, we know the avatar of a candidate, but now we're starting to build this picture, this image of who they are. And it could be that your candidate, by the way, could have 2 or 3 different tags. But to start with, let's just get the first foundations in place. So Mark, I understand what you're saying. Remember, we're not building well, you could be building from scratch, but if you've got a database now, so how big's your database? Let me know. What I want you to do to start with is, if you've got a database, say 10,000, I want you to now, rather than say, Jesus, what do I do with this? I want you just to start to break down your marketplace, right? My clients generally have 10 types of candidate. Or 20 types of candidate, or whatever it's going to be. And then we can allocate those flags to them. That's all I want you to do right now. I want you to get that foundation in place and get that mindset shift in place, okay? Rachel, yeah, that is Elizabeth, you're right. I'll pass on your concerns to her, okay? No worries. Okay, guys, so do we get, first of all, before we move forward, does anyone have any questions or just want me to clarify what we're actually looking to do? So all we're looking to do is take this big frazzled set of data we got, let's start to break it down into something usable, something we can start to use. Now, it isn't going to be perfect straight away. This isn't meant to be this is my entire database done. Of course it's not. This is getting you to, number one, get organized with what you've got in place now. So if you've got a database of 10, thanks Mark, so you've got a fairly big database there. So it's to get you organized and break the database into something usable. Secondly, moving forward, as new leads come to the database, we start to identify, right, my marketplace has 20 types of candidate typically. That goes into type 1, type 2, type 3, or type A, type B, type C. Something we can start to use. It doesn't need to be perfect. Remember, 80% is good enough. Trust me on that. Hey there, so what do you think about that then? So the intent of that session was really just to let you understand that there are many companies like you in the same position. It's really just to let you understand that I get where you're at. So there's five key problems you might have there that you can relate to, and if you are, I completely empathize with what you are going through right now. But really what I want you to focus on is the outcome to actually turn that around. So I've given you 5 key indicators and 5 key steps you might be able to move forward with. I've not given you templates, I've not given you the how-to, I've not given you the tools, I've not given you the overarching integrated strategy. It's only a quick video. But what we can do is this, we can jump on an agency growth action plan call, and on that call I will give you the how-to, and I will give you the steps, and I will give you the strategy. So on that call, what we can do is this. Before the call, I want you to just complete a couple of questions for me. So I've got some context. And then on the call, we can do this. If you need clients, I'm going to give you 3 strategies specific to your niche that are going to help you get, not just attract and all that woo-woo, but actually get clients that are going to pay you in the next 30 days. So you actually get clients who are going to pay you. That's inbound clients coming to you saying, Mark, can we speak on Tuesday at 2 o'clock? Rachel, on Thursday, can we speak at 4 o'clock? Nigel, Monday, can we speak at 7 o'clock? So actually clients coming to you. I'm going to show you how to do that. Number 2, if you need candidates, I'm going to give you at least one inbound system, to get candidates. And not just any candidates, but the candidates you need to get paid. So if you're searching on job boards, they're the candidates you cannot place. They're the ones who are open to everyone else in the marketplace. There are those who are actually looking for roles. There are those who have been placed before and have been asked to leave the company. They're not the candidates you want. You want the candidates who are passive, as you know. And the third thing is, whether you're looking for automation, whether you're looking for inbound, whether you're looking for systemization, whether you're looking to scale, go from 100k to 500k, or go from 500k to a million, or whether you're starting up and looking to get to your first 200k, I'm going to give you that momentum. So I'm going to do that on an agency growth action plan. So look below, click the button below, schedule your call. There's just a handful of questions there, literally just a handful. Give me as much information as possible. We're going to get on that call, and then we're going to get into solution mode. So I look forward to speaking to you soon. The places are strictly only for those who are really serious about change. So, as you can see, you've only got a handful of appointments there. So click the button below and really think about this. Are you looking to change your business now? Are you looking to really move from the old way of doing things to, I want inbound? Now, if you go to our website, you can go and check out dozens and dozens of case studies and all sorts of cool tools, strategies, webinars, all that cool stuff. But click the button below, schedule that call before they all go. I think we've got 5-6 appointments left, and then we'll go on to that 15-minute call, and let's knock this out of the park. So let's get on the Agency Growth Action Plan call, and we'll speak soon. Take care. Bye-bye.